Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Run Amok. I am your host, Javen Takar. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode here. And this is going to be continuing the series of record predictions, division predictions, whatever you want to call it. We go over all of it here on Run Amok. And today it's all about the AFC North, as you can see represented with the two little boys we got over here. We got me and Joe Green and AJ Green joining the table here. So without further ado, I hope you're doing okay. If you didn't watch my last video, go and watch it. If you are a NFC North fan, or yes, a team of a team in the NFC North, where I went over those predictions, I'm sure people are going to disagree with those. I'm sure people are going to disagree with the ones I have here today. All in all, the AFC North is a very tough and a very competitive division, but I actually feel really, really good about my standings here. And so, as usual, we're going to start from the bottom to the top, starting off with fourth place. I do have the Cleveland Browns. I am just really not that inspired with this team. Excuse me. And I had them opening up the season 0-2 with losses to the Cowboys and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's talk about some of their signings. Nothing too crazy. They signed both Jameis Winston and Tyler Huntley, who I guess they're fielding trades for, and they're sticking with Dorian Thompson-Robinson as the backup for Deshaun Watson. Not too sure how I feel about that. I feel like Winston and Huntley are both very viable backups for a quarterback who you don't really know what you're going to get. Deshaun Watson has not played to Deshaun Watson levels in years. And so you're really putting a lot of faith in him. And if not him, then Thompson Robinson is going to have to step up. And yes, he's shown some flashes, but nothing super insane. This prediction that I have the Browns going in is under the impression of course, Watson being the starting quarterback, but also, again, getting those struggles. I don't think that Watson is going to become him again. I think that we've really seen peak Watson, and the Browns are going to need Watson to not start off slow, but I think that he does, unfortunately. So yeah, it sounds like that they wanted to trade Winston and Huntley, maybe one or the other. I think that they should keep one at least, just in case Thompson Robinson doesn't play well, bearing that Watson doesn't play well. You can at least rely on one of those veterans. They also traded for Jerry Jeudy, which I think was a good pickup, especially for a receiving core that doesn't spark any lights at all, really. Yes, Amari Cooper is great and all, but as a receiver one in the big 2024, you would like to have some young guys with juice. I think that Jeudy can develop into a really good receiver, especially under Amari Cooper. I think there's some similarities between their two games, both footwork type of guys with hopefully good hands. Jeudy has had his dropping problems, but maybe training with Amari Cooper, he can develop those hands a little bit, and then Elijah Moore seemingly being the receiver 3. So not a bad receiving group, but definitely one that has a lot of question marks. We don't really know what to expect out of them, except for Amari Cooper, who we know. They are dealing with some injuries. Nick Chubb is on the IR list. He will have to miss he's on the physically unable to perform list, so he will miss the first 4 games of the season. Jack Conklin and Jedrick Wills are also banged up. I think they might be okay to go by now, though. Dalvin Tomlinson, also, again, I think he might be all good to go. And then Denzel Ward is kind of questionable. He's been dealing with like 5 concussions or something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does choose to even walk away from the game entirely, or if he misses a couple games. Denzel Ward is a name definitely to watch on. I've got here on my notes here, you've got to hope that Watson isn't rusty, because, again, he was dealing with that injury last season. He missed most of last season. So he's still really kind of new to how the Cleveland Browns run things, and Kevin Stefanski, new even probably with his receivers. There's just not much chemistry with Watson and the Browns, despite his second or third year with the team. He just hasn't been able to be on a real game time field with these guys. So we'll see how that factors into this at all. I will say, though, no concerns for the defense. We know how talented this defense is. Of course, led by Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith on the edge there. JOK. And then that secondary, it could be really, really something nice with Grant Delpit, Greg Newsome, and again, as I mentioned, Denzel Ward, who we don't know what the situation is. Jim Schwartz, he makes magic happen no matter what 11 guys he's got on defense. Jim Schwartz is going to make some miracles. So I'm not too concerned about their defense, but again, it's that offense where I'm got a little question mark. So got their first W week 3 against the New York Giants, and then going on a little win streak, beating the Raiders and the Commanders. They're going up against the NFC East, so I've got them getting a loss against the Philadelphia Eagles in week 6, then going back-to-back division rivals against the Bengals and the Ravens. Those are going to be losses. And then beating the Chargers right before the week 10 bye week, coming out of the bye week with a win against the Saints and then a loss against the Steelers. I've got them beating the Broncos, and then back in Pittsburgh, this time in Pittsburgh. That's going to be a loss again. And then finishing the season 3-1, they have got a tough end of the season here, going up against the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Dolphins, and then the Ravens. I've got them only beating the Cincinnati Bengals in week 16 there. So a relatively tough schedule for the Cleveland Browns, but overall finishing 7-10. So really not too bad, but yeah, it's tough. It's a tough schedule for the Cleveland Browns, and I think it's going to be a tough year for the Cleveland Browns. So buckle up, Cleveland fans, at least per the Run Amok predictions. The Pittsburgh Steelers. This is always an interesting team, of course, with Mike Tomlin never having a losing record. I did keep that up here with them with going 9-8. So there's a little spoiler alert for you. I've got them just going over 500. Of course, you can't really go exactly 500 now unless you get a tie. They released some old veterans, Patrick Peterson and Allen Robinson. Not too big of losses, but you traded Deontay Johnson for cornerback Dante Jackson, and I don't think that was a good move, especially with the receiving core that they have going into the season. Pickens is the receiver 1. Okay, he's got potential. Does he have receiver 1 energy just yet? Who's the receiver 2? Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin. Is there a trade with Brandon Ayuk that's actually going to go through? That's the whole situation. That's the whole question marks that we have going into the season with the Pittsburgh Steelers is the pass catchers. It's going to be tough for Russell Wilson or Justin Fields to thrive without the guys catching the football. And of course, they've got Pat Freiermuth as well. They've got the rookie receiver Roman Wilson out of Michigan, who I think was a good value pick. And I think that he could get an opportunity sometime, especially with how weak the receiving core is. Roman Wilson could be valuable and get some valuable playing time. I'm going to get back onto Russell Wilson and Justin Fields in just a little bit. They also picked up Cordero Patterson, which with this new kick return system that the NFL has got going on, they honestly might get more kick return touchdowns than offensive touchdowns. Who knows? Of course, just a joke there. And their rookie class, I spoke on Roman Wilson a little bit, but is a very, very, very good rookie class, focusing on the offensive line, picking up Joy Fatotnu in the first round, who was my draft crush. I think that he was a really, really good prospect. So I'd love to see him going into Pittsburgh. Zach Frazier, the center, and then Mason McCormick, 3 very, really good offensive linemen that the Pittsburgh Steelers picked up. So I think that if they do want to go with a ground and pound type of game with all these big beefy old linemen, running with Jaylen Warren and Najee Harris, I think they're kind of ground and pound type players. So I think that they could really benefit if the Pittsburgh Steelers choose to go to a run first type of offense with Arthur Smith at the helm. We'll see how that goes. Against our receiver core. And I think that their defense has more holes in it than the Cleveland Browns. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. They have a questionable secondary. Minkah Fitzpatrick is good, of course. Joey Porter Jr., but that's basically where the line ends in the secondary. And then, of course, they've got, TJ Watt, Cameron Hayward, Patrick Queen, and Alex Highsmith. So that's 6 guys. You've got 11 guys on the field. I think that the Browns' talent, and I think that the gap between where those talent lies, I think it's much larger. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I just think they have a lot more holes. But overall, finishing 9-8 due to the coaching, due to, I think, the Pittsburgh culture, I have them being a little bit better than the Cleveland Browns. I'm not going to be the one to predict Mike Tomlin to go under 500 or have a losing record. I'm not going to be the one to predict that. So I'm playing it safe going 9-8. All right. Simple as that. Overall, though, yeah, if the Pittsburgh Steelers can pull off a trade, though, for Brandon Ayuk, that definitely changes. They could be a 10, 11, 12 win team just with that change right there. But speaking of Brandon Ayuk and pass catchers, let's talk about this quarterback controversy. Famous line that I mentioned in the previous video: if you've got 2 quarterbacks, you've got none. We've got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, 2 vastly different quarterbacks. You've got Russell Wilson, who's a guy who is an improviser. He likes to stay in the pocket. Russ is a little bit smaller, actually. So actually, I'm not sure if Russ throws it over the middle or not. I think I might be getting it mixed up there. And then Justin Fields, who's this young, lightning in a bottle type of player. He wants to get out of the pocket. He wants to use his legs. And it seems like Tomlin is ready to embrace Justin Fields and his legs, which is going to be only beneficial for Justin Fields and his development. Of course, that arm still, even in preseason, looked a little bit questionable. But he did have some solid throws, airing it out. But, again, still some question marks there. Tomlin sounds like Russell Wilson is going to be the starter. He's going to open up the game, but it sounds like Fields is going to get some time against the Atlanta Falcons week 1, which I have the Pittsburgh Steelers losing to. I think that the new and improved Raheem Morris Falcons are going to be hot this season. So I think that they take the dub against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've also got them losing to the Denver Broncos. I want to say it's Sunday Night Football in primetime. Russell Wilson, he wants his revenge, but I think that Sean Payton is going to be out to get Wilson more than Wilson is going to be hungry to get back at the Denver Broncos. I just don't know if Wilson got that dog in him where, this team that did him so dirty, he wants to get back at them for. I think Sean Payton would rather be like, yeah, we're going to make a fool out of Russell Wilson. I know what his weaknesses are because I coached him. He's going to be, he's going to fold under pressure, this and that. And then I've also got them losing to the Los Angeles Chargers. Starting out the season 0-3, got them beating the Indianapolis Colts and also upsetting the Dallas Cowboys in Pittsburgh. I think that could be a good matchup there. So again, this is a team that I've got them losing 8 games, obviously, but also beating some good teams, beating the Dallas Cowboys as well, beating the Raiders next week, but then losing to the New York Jets, and then beating the Giants, of course, before the bye week in week 9. Coming out of the bye week, I've got them going 3-0, beating the Commanders, the Ravens, and the Browns, respectively. And then that win streak is going to stop against the Bengals in week 13. And then they've got a tough end of the season stretch here, kind of similar to the Browns, as I just mentioned. I've got them beating the Browns first and then finishing the season 3-1, going up against, again, some tough opponents, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Chiefs, and then finishing the season week 18 with the Bengals, which I gave them the dub on. So that's a tough end of the season stretch for the Pittsburgh Steelers, where a lot of their losses are going to come from there. But overall, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, they just need a receiver or two, and I think they can be a solid offense. Defensively, probably need to target some corners in the draft. We're already talking about the draft here. I would have liked to see them get even like Stephon Gilmore or something, who was a free agent, signed with the Minnesota Vikings already. But if they were able to get a Stephon Gilmore, or even just re-sign Patrick Peterson, yes, he's old, yes, he's on the latter half of his career, but getting a veteran presence on defense, especially with such a young defense with Joey Porter Jr., never a bad thing. Moving on to second place, I've got the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think that they're going to take quite a regression going into this season. They signed Mike Gesicki. He seems to be their first tight end. Zach Moss and Geno Stone, Sheldon Rankins, those are all very serviceable guys. I don't think that Zach Moss will be the running back 1. I think that Chase Brown is going to get up that, and he's going to hold on to that running back 1 position. And then, Stone and Rankins, those are very serviceable guys. But Trent Brown, I think it will be a playmaker. Trent Brown and Orlando Brown at left tackle and right tackle, those are going to be 2 big pillars for Joe Burrow. As long as he doesn't move around very much, those are 2 very big guys that don't like to move. So if Joe Burrow doesn't move outside of the pocket, which I don't really think he does, then he'll be good to go. He'll be nice and protected. Their draft class was okay. They picked up Amarius Mims in the first round, who is similar to Trent and Orlando Brown, so I'm not too sure where that lies. I know he had some injury history, but I don't think that he can play guard, so he's really just going to redshirt his rookie year, it seems like, bearing a Brown injury. And then, of course, the big elephant in the room is the Jamar Chase contract, which, what is going to happen there? He was supposed to practice today as I'm recording this, ended up showing out just in street clothes, did not practice. You've also got T. Higgins' contract to worry about. He's on the franchise tag. I'm not 100% sure what the recent news is. Is he going to play on the franchise tag? Are they waiting on an intersection? Is he going to get traded? So T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, you've got to deal with them. If you have to choose between them, I think Jamar Chase is the obvious answer. If you got to trade T. Higgins, try to get an impact player now if you can. Otherwise, draft picks, that'll do. But definitely don't let it bleed into the season unless if Higgins or Chase are going to play. Of course, Chase is going to be a bank-breaking type of contract. I'm very concerned about their defense. I mean, you look at their depth chart, nothing exciting, nothing, just nothing that really sparks. No real superstars, which sounds cliche, but you need some superstars, especially in this AFC North. Very competitive, very tough and rough division. You've got Sam Hubbard, okay, Trey Hendrickson, all right, BJ Hill, Logan Wilson, Jermaine Pratt, Cam Taylor-Britt, Jordan Battle, DJ Turner, Mike Hilton. These are all guys that are just fine. They're just fine. They're good players to have, but nobody that really separates it and pops off of the depth chart here. So I'm very concerned about the Cincinnati Bengals defense. And all in all, this team is going to really go as far as Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase can take them. And T. Higgins, I guess, if you want to throw him into the lump there. And I have them going 10-7, pretty much losing to any competent and competitive team that they are going up against, which they have a pretty easier schedule than I feel like any of the other teams did. Week 1 against the Patriots, I've got a win. And then in Arrowhead Stadium, the Kansas City Chiefs, that's going to be a loss. Beating the Commanders, beating the Panthers. Hey, but here's another tough game against the Baltimore Ravens. That's going to be a loss. I've got them beating the Giants and the Browns, and then losing to the Eagles, beating the Raiders, and then again losing to the Ravens. I think the Ravens sweep them. Beating the Chargers just before the Week 12 bye week. Coming out of the bye against the Steelers, they're going to get the dub. Then losing against the Dallas Cowboys at Dallas. Beating the Titans. Beating then the Denver Broncos in Week 17. And then losing Week 16 against the Browns and Week 18 against the Steelers. Just a team that I don't really see being super competitive. I think that they're going to beat up on all these small teams, but any type of competitive playoff team that they're going up against, it's going to be a loss. That Week 18 game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, that could definitely be a Bengals win as well, especially if they need it for a playoff spot. So they could also finish 11-6. I think that was one of the games that I switched just for the Pittsburgh Steelers to finish 9-8. However, so yeah, overall, Bengals fans, I'm sorry, maybe I'm underrating the Bengals a little bit, but I'm not excited for the Bengals season this year. I don't think that they have the juice anymore. I feel like their Super Bowl window is closing at a very, very fast rate. Now moving on to the top dogs of the AFC North, it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens. They picked up Derrick Henry and Kyle Van Noy, and I guess Eddie Jackson, which I only learned researching for this video. Van Noy and Eddie Jackson, that they're cool and fun, whatever. But Derrick Henry is really the big highlight signing that I feel like some of these teams that I mentioned were missing. That big highlight signing. Derrick Henry brings a new dimension to this already very good running team. You've got Lamar Jackson, who was a very clean and finesse type runner. Now you got Derrick Henry, who is just going to run through a boy face. He's just going to run through a boy face, and it's gonna be nasty to watch. Not only that, but they got a good draft class as well. Rookies that are going to make an impact from day one. Nate Wiggins, I'm looking at you. He was looking really good in preseason. I want to say he was the highest rated rookie, defensive rookie in preseason per PFF, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I know he was highly rated, however. They also picked up Roger Rosengarten, and I think they got a good value with TJ Tampa. I wasn't the biggest fan of TJ Tampa, but where they picked him up at, I believe in the 3rd round, good value there. So yeah, you got some good rookies that you can plug them in, and they're going to make an impact. Also, yeah, like I mentioned, this is going to be a fun and exciting offense. The Ravens always are. And I would like to see them air it out a little bit with year 2 Zay Flowers and, of course, Rashad Bateman. I'll always believe in Rashad Bateman. Big Rashad Bateman fan here. However, Nelson Aguilar at receiver 3 is a little bit of a big yikers. You've got Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely, so I'd like to see some 2 receivers, 2 tight end sets. Keep Nelson Aguilar, off the field as much as you can. And then this defense is good, is very talented, very physical. They're going to get in your face. They're going to disrupt the quarterback. They're going to disrupt the run game. And you hope that they're going to be knocking down balls in the pass game. Of course, Justin Matabuke, big fan of him. Michael Pierce, Odafe Owe, just on that front D line right there. Roquan Smith holding down the linebackers. Roquan Smith is, a top 3 linebacker in the league. That secondary, I think it's going to be hit or miss. That could be really good or really bad. As long as you got to hope Marlon Humphreys is healthy and stays on the field. And Wiggins in Tampa, I think Wiggins will be ready. Tampa, you might want to ease into things if you want him to start. And then Brandon Stevens, who's a solid cornerback in the league. And then their safeties of Hamilton and Marcus Williams are really, really good. And I guess Eddie Jackson as well. So overall, the Baltimore Ravens, again, not only is this a powerhouse of a roster, but great coaching. We'll see how good that defense is without Mike McDonald, but overall, I do see the Ravens finishing as the Kings of the North in the AFC. Just again, because of all that talent. And I expect Lamar Jackson to have a big, big year. And the Ravens to maybe go on a run a little bit, go to the AFC Championship game again. And let's see him in the Super Bowl. Why not? Why not, huh? All right, so that's going to wrap up the AFC North predictions. This was tough. This was a tough one. I think it's going to be one of my tougher predictions that I'm going to have to make. Just because, again, this is a very scrappy division. Anybody can win any week. In these divisional games. So I wouldn't be surprised if really nobody gets swept. But yes, that is going to wrap up the AFC North here today, folks. I will see you in the next division prediction. We'll see where we go. Okay, so we finished up the North. We'll see. I think we're going to head up the South next. So it's going to be the NFC South next video. That's going to be a fun division. There. And I will see you then. Make sure you subscribe to not miss out on that next one. Like, comment, let me know what you like. Let me know what you don't like. Let me know what you agree with. Let me know what you disagree with. Or just leave whatever. Make sure you check out the description below with all the links of all my other social medias. I've been posting a lot on TikTok, so definitely check those out as well. And yeah, folks, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Run Amok. I'm your host, Javen Dakar. Peace out, folks.